Good evening. I now call to order the March 24th Municipal Council meeting. Are there any declarations of interest from Council? I'm not seeing any at this time. Okay. Thank you. We're going to start our evening tonight with the land acknowledgement statement. The town of East Gwillimbury recognizes and acknowledges the lands originally used and occupied by the First Peoples of the Williams Treaty First Nations and other Indigenous people. And on behalf of Council, I thank them for sharing this land. We also acknowledge the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nations as East Gwillimbury's closest First Nation community, and recognize the unique relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and the waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and the environmental stewards of these lands, and we join them in these responsibilities. Before we begin, I'd like to note that Council has a full agenda this evening, including a statutory public meeting for the updated official plan and complete community secondary plan, which is a significant town initiative. To facilitate an orderly and efficient meeting, I will be seeking Council's consideration to adjust the order of the agenda to bring forward item H, the statutory public meeting, for consideration. Council will also note that there are 4 deputants listed on tonight's agenda. As deputants at Council are heard only with Council's consent, Council must first determine whether it wishes to hear these deputants this evening. Should Council grant consent, I will then seek direction to have the deputations heard immediately following the statutory public meeting. For members of the public in attendance regarding deputations, Council will be making that determination momentarily. If you approve, deputations will be heard following the statutory public meeting. We appreciate your patience as Council addresses this matter. We are at motion number 1, reprioritized agenda. May I have a mover and a seconder at this time? Councillor Crothers, Councillor. Thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. Motion number 2 is consent to hear deputations. May I have a mover and a seconder? As required under section 13.2, Council's consent is required to hear the deputants. May I have a motion to consent to the hearing the deputations listed on today's prepared agenda, and that the deputations be heard immediately following the statutory public meeting? Yes, we can. Request to separate them out at this time. All in favor? Okay, not seeing any objection. We will now move down to item H.
Okay. Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I have a question. I'm confused about what's being separated and what we're voting on. Are we being asked to vote on individually on the individual deputations, whether we'll receive them or not?
Yes, go ahead.
I requested that each of these deputations has submitted information about what they would like to speak to us about and what they would like to address us about. and I would like to separate them out so that we can consider each of them in turn.
That makes perfect sense.
Thank you.
Thank you. Give us a moment or two, and we can make some changes. Yes.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So the motion that you had initially outlined was initially to receive consent from the body with respect to the deputations, and once that is dealt with, then council will be considering the items after the statutory public meeting. So with respect to Councillor Roy DeClemente's inquiry, there has been a request to individually seek the consent for individual deputations. So perhaps what you may want to do is individually go through numbers D1, D2, D3, D4 for the sake of the consent. Once that's dealt with, you would then proceed with your statutory public meeting, and whatever remaining deputations are left, they'll be dealt with afterwards. So perhaps we can start with the first item, Madam Mayor, which would be item D1. So you're seeking consent from council on item D1.
All in favor?
You need a seconder.
I'm sorry. Seconder, thank you. All in favor? That's carried.
And Madam Mayor, number 2, it's number D2 is another item for council's consideration for consent.
And
So
this,
you need a mover and a seconder for that.
mover and a seconder, please. Councillor LaHaye. Councillor. Councillor Johns. Thank you. All those in favor?
Can I call a recorded vote, Madam Mayor?
Yes, you may.
Madam Mayor, just bear with me for a moment as I pull up the recorded vote sheet.
I wouldn't mind speaking to this.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have some issues with items D2, 3, and 4. The applicants the deputants have not provided, in my opinion, much of a detailed outline of what they would want to talk to. This had been requested in the changes that we made to interpreting our deputation bylaw. It's important for the audience to understand that we need to have some grasp of what's going to be said, because if it is in any way puts us in a conflict of interest, if we have an interest in what they're saying, we need to declare that up front. If we don't know what it is, we can't declare that up front. So it keeps us out of trouble too. So I have, my answer will be the same for, as I said, deputations 2, 3, and 4. I have trouble supporting this because unlike D1, who has provided a great deal of information, we need a little bit more than what has been provided from deputants 2, 3, and 4. So for those reasons, I won't be voting in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My opinion is similar to Councillor Crone's. My vote for items D2, 3, and 4 will not be in support of recognizing the deputants. These are requests to make deputations about deputations. For me, the outlines lack specificity. As Councillor Crone said, I don't know if I have a conflict of interest or not. These deputations, there's references to prior dates. There were dates where conflicts were declared, from what I recall. And I don't see that deputations are not necessarily a dialogue. And I see them as a tool for residents to speak to us about a policy, a procedure, a town operational matter. And I feel that these deputations would be more appropriate for a phone call or an in-person meeting, which I'm always happy to have. Thank you.
Councillor Foster.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. The information that we do have indicates that there is a good possibility that the deputations will be about earlier decisions of council in earlier meetings that we can't necessarily speak about anyway. That's the trouble I have. I have a problem telling people we don't want to hear from them, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be much that we can speak to anyway.
Thank you. Councillor Leahy.
Thank you very much. Through you, Madam Mayor. It's an unfortunate situation and a pattern that I have seen developing, and it speaks to the very point of the notice of motion that we'll be discussing tonight with regard to opportunities for members of the public to interact with us in person, face-to-face. And in light of the previous January 13th decision that was made by members of council regarding limiting the number of deputations that can be made. So I am in support of listening to deputations, whether it makes us uncomfortable or not, or if there's some awkward moments. I believe that we should always be receptive, because the residents are paying our salaries of all members of council as well as staff. And so I have never heard from our Myette previously, has never made a deputation. And so I will be supporting all of the deputations to be made this evening, and in particular, Mr. Myette, who has not spoken before council before. So I think we should proceed with a recorded vote on each of the deputations, whether or not we will be receiving them this evening.
Thank you. Councillor, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I certainly understand that residents can have frustrations or concerns. However, the types of concerns that are outlined in these 3 deputations are usually best addressed where there's an opportunity for a dialogue, a back and forth, which the deputation process doesn't allow, and then we can have an opportunity to have some resolution to their concerns. So whether that's speaking directly to the individual, as what's already been suggested, or raising the concerns with the mayor, or, where appropriate, bringing the matter to the Integrity Commissioner. And this isn't just my view. This is something that reflects the feedback that I'm hearing increasingly from residents within our community. So based on the outlines that were provided by these 3 deputants, I do not believe that the deputants will advance a policy discussion or assist council in decision-making. And for that reason, I won't be consenting to hear them.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just for clarity, there has been a motion to deal with the consent on items D2, D3, and D4. It has been moved by Councillor Leahy, seconded by Councillor Johns, would record a request for a recorded vote submitted by Councillor Johns. Perhaps I can just go through that process at this time, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much.
So, Madam Mayor, I'm just going to seek everybody's vote. Councillor Johns, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Leahy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Roy DeClemente, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Carruthers, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Crone, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Foster, how do you vote?
No.
Mayor Haxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, that motion does not carry. At this time, council only has consented to hearing item D1.
So we will proceed with D1 at this point.
Madam Mayor, at this time, you are proceeding with initially the statutory public meeting. Following that, council will be dealing with the deputation section of the agenda. And just bear with us as we transition you into the statutory public meeting, just momentarily.
Thank you. This is item H of the statutory public meeting and procedural comments by the mayor. Members of the public, this portion of the council meeting is a statutory public meeting under the Planning Act. The purpose of this meeting is to inform and obtain public input on the planning application received by the town prior to a full technical analysis being conducted by staff. No decision to approve or refuse the application will be made here tonight. Following the applicant's presentation, members of the public will be invited to offer their comments respecting the proposal. Submissions can also be made in writing to planning@eastgwellenbury.ca. If you plan to speak at this meeting, or if you wish to be notified of any future council meeting being concerning this application, please complete a form located at the desk at the back of our council chambers. I will now ask the General Manager of Development Services to introduce the application.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor and members of council. This is a really exciting time for the town. The town has been working on a number of years on the official plan update. This is particularly critical as municipalities are required to review their official plans to ensure that they remain up to date, reflect current provincial policy, and represent the long-term vision of the municipality. As the town has been experiencing significant growth pressures, it's essential that we have a clear and current official plan that will help guide and shape development and outline under what circumstances specific types of land uses can be located. The official plan is an essential policy document to ensure that future development appropriately balances social, economic, and environmental interests of the community. It's important that this review, and to note that this review is not a total rewrite of the official plan. And Mr. Palmer, who's with us tonight, is going to go into this in greater detail. But just to highlight, the town has been on what I would call a very extended journey to get to this point, and that's why this point is so critical. In 2022, this council adopted an updated official plan, which, due to circumstances beyond anyone in this chamber's control, wasn't approved simply because of legislative changes that the province brought, changing who the approval authority was for the official plan. Not to rest on something that was negative, the town actually leveraged this opportunity to again update its official plan to reflect current provincial policy statements that were subsequently released, but also to advance the complete community secondary plan. Mr. Palmer is going to outline and provide a presentation on what the plan contains in the complete community secondary plan. And all of us are here tonight to hear what members of council, members of public, and anyone who writes in has to say. We will be coming back, we hope by May, in the May meeting of council, with a final recommendation report that will highlight any changes from the version that's before you today to what we will be recommending. So it's important for any members of the public to please share with us any of your comments, concerns, or issues so that both planning staff and the very esteemed consultant teams can help address these. So, Mr. Palmer?
Good evening. Good to have you with us.
It is always wonderful to be here. Yes, it has been a journey. Next slide, please. As Ms. Vumbakis has identified, we're here to listen tonight. It's two parts that are combined into one document. It's both the new official plan, which is a subset of the 2022 official plan that was adopted by council, and the complete community plan area. They are combined because the planning framework for the complete community plan area relies on the broader policy framework of the official plan. So there's some logic in their joining together, both in terms of efficiency of doing the work, but also the efficiency of getting things approved. I'm not here by myself. You're going to find out tonight that as the town of East Gwillimbury, you're not alone in the preparation of these documents. And I'm here tonight, I think virtually. I can't tell who's here on the screen, but I'm going to introduce the one who's here, and that is Mr. Rowan Faludi from Urban Metrics, and he helped us with the retail, service, commercial components of the complete community plan area. I've heard through good advice that I have Natalie Dunn and Paul Ciccio, and I apologize if I've not said that right. They're from GEI Consultants. They were responsible for two very large components, the sub-watershed study and the area servicing study for the complete community plan. Also here electronically is Steve Langlois from Monteith Brown, who worked with us on the community facilities and parks strategy. Tom Willis from Paradigm Transportation, doing all the transportation work, which of course is very important. And we have with us Randy Grimes, who prepared the financial impact study. There are a number of sub-consultants who weren't able to make it tonight, but absolutely, as identified, all comments are good comments. All comments will be codified, included in a comment response matrix, which of course implies not only do we know what the comment was, but we will be preparing a specific response to each comment. Some of those comments may result in additional adjustments to the policy framework as it currently exists. Next slide. This slide gives you a bit of a time horizon. I've been on this journey with you since the beginning. In 2020, when we started the new official plan. One thing that's not on this slide is that I believe we got a new council at the end of 2022 that added also to the idea that we need to have a look. We're going to do a secondary plan. We're going to respond to the provincial planning statement. They like to change the titles and names of things that just make writing an official plan very complicated. The removal of the region's approval authority. The region had a brand new, just approved official plan. At the time, it was the town's job to conform to that plan. Now we look at that plan as providing guidance and advice to the town, but it is no longer the fundamental documents that we need to conform with. That is the provincial policies. And there are a number of provincial policies that apply here in the town of East Gwillimbury, not the least of which are the Greenbelt Plan, the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan, and the Oak Ridges Marine Plan. All of those things come to play here in East Gwillimbury. So here we are in 2026, coming close to the end of this long process. And as noted, this is a very important document for the town to manage growth and development and the protection of key elements of this town over the next 25 to 30 years. That's a long time frame. Things will change over that time frame, but this sets the stage for all of those decisions. Next slide. This slide really talks about the complete community plan process, and we are in the final stages. I will be talking about our next steps after today, at the end of the presentation on my last slide, but there is still lots of work to do, and that's all about responding to comments and concerns that have been raised by all of the participants in the preparation of this document. Next slide. Tonight we're here really reviewing a comprehensive document that was released into the public domain in 2025, in November. That document was based on the new policy framework for the complete community plan area, as well as the plan that was released and adopted by the previous council in June of 2022. So we're working towards a full comprehensive document that has been reviewed by the public, by a technical advisory committee, by a group of landowners, by all of the departments of the town, the province, and the region. Those are all the participants in this process. The reason that it's a really important document is that it's expected that the town is going to grow to over 128,000 people and over 44,000 jobs by the 2051 planning horizon. That's big change here in East Gwillimbury. A lot of that growth has been planned for a long time. The Green Lane plan area, which is just starting in and around the two major transportation station areas at the south end, will stimulate significant growth in different forms of growth than are typical here in East Gwillimbury. There's also significant development potential that is yet unbuilt around Queensville and around Sharon. Those have been accommodated and considered in this long-term growth. And then there is, of course, Mount Albert, which is a much smaller urban community, but it still has a vital, important role to play in the structure of this town. The complete community plan area are all of those lands that are interstitial to Holland Landing, Queensville, Sharon, and Green Lane. Those lands have been anticipated for urban development since before the 2022 plan. They were actually part of the consideration back in the 2010 plan. So we're not starting from scratch, but we are managing change over time as development opportunities change, as the rules for planning change. And believe me, as a planner, the rules have changed a lot since 2010. 2005, 2006 was massive change. And those changes at the provincial and at the regional level for a time have changed dramatically. Promotion of higher intensity built forms, range of housing types, reliance on multi-mobility opportunities, including enhanced transit, protection of the environment and agricultural lands, as well as protection of cultural heritage. Next slide, please. I include this slide in all of my presentations because way back in 2020, when we started this process, we worked through a public consultation process and developed, with the help of the members of the public, a vision statement. And the vision statement is really, what do we think the town of East Gwillimbury should be in 2051? It's the backbone of the official plan, and all decisions related to growth and development need to consider this vision statement as part of the ultimate objective of the approval of development. Next slide, please. That vision statement is supported by 8 fundamental principles. And what I'm trying to build here is a vision supported by principles, supported by the planning policy framework. They all link together and need to be considered together. Sometimes one principle will seem to be considered more important than another principle, but nonetheless, they all have to be considered in all decisions related to growth and development over time. Next slide. The first group of participants in this process are the public. And the previous version of the official plan, the one that was adopted by Council in 2022, went through a fulsome public consultation process to get us where that plan ended up. Since that time, we've been working through the complete community plan process, and then subsequent to that process being about halfway done, it's been a combined consideration of the official plan and the complete community plan. We've held 4 public open houses where we've heard lots of great commentary from members of the public. In terms of a brief summary, we've heard about how are the agricultural components of this town being protected. That's a really important one. I've heard it at almost every public meeting. And what's important to talk about here is that we have not changed the split between urban versus rural in this plan. It's the same as it was in 2010. The difference is that the interstitial areas in the main growth area, which includes Sharon, Holland Landing, and Queensville, and of course Green Lane, are now being planned at the next level of detail to accommodate growth. This town still is primarily rural, agricultural, and ecological. My estimates are it's between 75 and 80% protected from urban development, which is pretty amazing here, especially in York region. We've heard about the conservation of cultural heritage, not only cultural heritage buildings, but also archaeological resources and cultural heritage landscapes. A lot of talk about how compatible development will be considered. Everybody knows that the lines of concern are when new development abuts existing development and how do they transition comfortably between each other. So that's been a conversation that has been held throughout the process. Lots of talk about the provision of a full range of housing choices. East Gwillimbury is dominated by ground-related housing, although more recently, higher intensity forms of residential development have been developed. And we're also looking not only for a full range of low-rise, mid-rise, and high-rise development, but we're also looking for components of that to be considered affordable housing. One of the other topics that we heard throughout the process was the financial impacts of the complete community plan. Fundamentally, who pays for this development? How will the town ensure that the existing taxpayers are not burdened with the costs of infrastructure, community facilities, all of that important supporting work that is fundamentally linked to the benefit of the new forms of housing, commercial and industrial development. As I said, this is just a summary. We've got lots of comments, some written, some by email, and of course some that are identified through our What We Heard reports, which we've prepared throughout the process. All of those will be codified and responded to in a comment response matrix. Next slide. Throughout the process, the town has been carrying on Indigenous consultation. We do have some written commentary from some Indigenous groups, and those absolutely will be identified in a comment matrix, responded to, and where appropriate, changes made to the policy framework to better reflect what they believe to be an important component of this plan to achieve their objectives. Next slide. Technical Advisory Committee agencies. As I mentioned, we've been working with a very large group of agencies, Region of York, the school boards, conservation authorities, town staff, regional staff, and they have participated. We've had 4 large meetings with them, and they have provided substantial commentary on the official plan and on the complete community plan area policy framework. And again, all of these comments will be identified, codified, responded to. Many will result in adjustments to the policy framework that is included in the current draft. Next slide. Absolutely, you're not alone. The province is involved. The province is your approval authority, and they have something to say about every official plan in the province of Ontario. They have provided us with preliminary comments on the November 2025 version of the plan. We will be going through those in detail. They're primarily related to ensuring that we are more consistent with the provincial planning statement. They do talk about how to deal with growth management, some commentary on the policy framework related to successful communities, land use policies, natural heritage system, conservation, and sustainable infrastructure. Again, we're going to look at them all. You're going to see what they were, and we're going to respond to all of them and show you how they have changed the wording of the plan. Next slide. We've been working with a landowners group who are representing much of the land, not all, but much of the land within the complete community plan area. We've had 4 meetings with that group and additional meetings with representatives of that group. And they have identified a number of their concerns. And again, all of these will be part of the public record in a comment and concern matrix, and all of them will be appropriately dealt with and brought back to council for review. Some of them will result in some adjustments to the plan. My last slide is about the next steps, because notwithstanding we started in 2020, we're not quite finished. I'm determined to be finished in 2026. After today's meeting and hearing whomever would like to speak about this significant piece of work, we'll be refining the official plan based on all the comments that we've heard. And again, you're going to get a lot of paper next time, and it's going to be all about commentary and the responses that we've made. We'll hear some, I assume, additional commentary tonight. We expect additional commentary in writing and through the internet, and we will continue to refine. We hope to be back in May with all of that work done in support of a recommendation for council adoption. Following council adoption, it then goes to the province for approval. And with that, I thank you for listening to me tonight, and happy to answer any questions or listen to the public.
Thank you very much for being here tonight with us. We very much appreciate it. It's a big job to do, and we are going to need to roll up our sleeves with many other people who are taking a look at this as well. So thank you ever so much. And for everyone else that's here with us this evening, it's the beginning of something very exciting in East Gwillimbury. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to me.
I've been advised that there are no pre-registered speakers for this evening's statutory public meeting. Members of the public are welcome to provide comments respecting the proposal. If you wish to speak, you are required to first complete a form located at the desk at the back of the council chambers, and then come forward to the lectern. When you approach, please state your name and address for the record. Each speaker will have up to 5 minutes, and written comments may also be submitted to our planning at eastgwillimbury.ca. I will now invite any members of the public who wish to speak to come forward. Perhaps some people are waiting to see what the process is, or to hear, just to listen instead. But I'd ask if there's members of council who would like to speak at this time, if they would do so, and we will certainly sit here and listen. Councillor Johns, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say, like, I found this, this process, like, obviously there is a lot there, but I did want to go on the record because, like, going through this process and learning about the undertakings, the fact that the boundaries of the urban and rural hadn't changed from 2010, and the fact that this is taking into account provincial direction and provincial approvals, and kind of layering on top of the plan that had already existed. I think for me, the opportunity to have, so there's primarily two things. The first thing is that they have the opportunity to have the input on the, I know I'm going to use the wrong nomenclature, but the accessory dwelling units in the rural areas. As folks know, and they're probably tired of me hearing it from me, but I grew up in the rural area town, and I always felt that when you would see, you know, neighbors with sheds and with places out the back, the fact that we've gone through a change in our municipality, and we need change. And the opportunity to have accessory dwelling units or garden suites like put inside of this the plan in the rural areas to allow for generational family living, I think is extremely important. And I would just want to thank Mr. Palmer for hearing me and having that in there. I also think what is important is the fact that if we can get the plans right or clear on our corridors, that allows for the municipality to be able to have a leadership position in helping direct what we want the future to be. So from a proactive planning perspective, the ability to be able to protect our existing neighborhoods and the quality of life for folks that are already living here, and being able to encourage growth, example, Green Lane, in those areas, and kind of look at prioritization and sequencing versus us reacting to applications as they come in. I think having the official plan more defined and kind of the growth coming out of 2010 is important, and it's critical for us as a municipality to be able to kind of lead and determine where growth is going to happen. And I think that this is a necessary step forward, and it's certainly not everybody is going to agree, but I think it puts the tools in our tool belt to be able to actually lead from a proactive growth perspective, as well as addressing generational housing opportunities for those in the rural areas. So those are my comments, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments at this time? Councillor Crone, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to our staff. Given that we're not getting any comments today, if anyone in the chamber has ideas afterwards, I would ask staff, what would, if a member of the public want to submit comments or ideas, suggestions, what have you, what would be the best way for that to happen? Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, simply to write into the planning branch so that we can receive your comments. I would encourage anybody who has comments to do in a timely fashion, because we will take all the comments, we'll evaluate them, and as Mr. Palmer said, we will put them in a matrix so that it's clear whether or not we're recommending the change or we're recommending against the change. That's always a possibility. Or we're recommending something modified that perhaps reflects some of the comments, but not in its entirety. But I would encourage people to use the month of April to submit those comments to us so that we can capture them.
Thank you. Councillor Leahy, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much through you, Madam Mayor. I also wanted to express my appreciation that we had opportunities also as well as individual councillors, and they were very productive, lengthy meetings, and we put forward our suggestions as well. And so in terms of the comments and the feedback that we provided to you and that the public has provided to you, where will the matrix and the commentary be posted? Will it be posted on the town website for everyone to read at some future date after the month of April?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it'll be posted as part of the recommendation report that comes forward, the final report to council.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
Councillor Foster?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say to Mr. Palmer and his group, this has been very, very educational for me. It seems like we've been working on this forever, the way this has worked out. But I think it's important that our public realizes that much of this plan was decided 16 years ago. We've made a few gentle changes to that as we go. So it's not like we're asking for any big changes. The urban-rural split is the same, and we've been saying for years that 75 to 80% of East Gwillimbury is going to remain the way it is. So I think that's important. The one thing that I look forward to, and we've talked a little bit about this in some of our meetings, is that I hope this plan gives the town a few more tools to possibly deal better with developers as they come in. It's frustrating to us that we spend all this time on an official plan and then we have developers come in that want amendments to those plans. We understand there's going to be amendments with different developments, but hopefully there are some tools in here that kind of make it easier for this council and maybe future councillors to deal with that. So that's kind of what I have been happy with going through so far. I think some of those tools are there and hopefully they work out right. Thank you.
Councillor Roy DeClemente?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also wanted to echo my appreciation for the work that Mr. Palmer and his team have done. This was a huge undertaking while the rules of engagement kept changing. As the province amended their planning statutes, it was a moving target, and I feel confident that we've arrived at a good place. I'm delighted to see that the complete community secondary plans that we had originally started have been incorporated into our official plan. I think that's an important step because it puts that additional work that we've undertaken into the OP and enshrines it there rather than having it be a secondary planning document. So for me, this was, as my colleagues have said, the heavy lifting was done when we created that green, heavily environmental split, and then having the urbanized areas. And this essentially became a conformity exercise in making sure that we brought ourselves into conformity with provincial planning statements and putting those complete community secondary plans into the OP. What I am most pleased about, and it's one of the things that I have struggled the most with, is the ability for us to control phasing. And I know that there are stakeholders who have been, in this process saying that they don't want us to be imposing phasing, but I think that it is really important for us to be able to be in the driver's seat to control how and when different sections of our community grow or change or develop. There are two pieces that I think are still opportunities for us to explore that I think can make this policy stronger, and that's some accompanying bylaws like our parkland dedication bylaw and our community benefits bylaw. I think if we're able to update those, I think it will go a long way to allow us to be able to effectively implement the vision that we are communicating through the OP. So I want to thank Mr. Palmer, and just those are my comments at this time, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Crothers?
Thank
You've been
you.
very patient.
Thank you. And as always, most of my comments have already been stated. I think we can't say enough how much work has been put into this. It started last term, continued it all through this term. I think Mr. Palmer could probably spend an entire day presenting what is in this plan. It was a very short presentation given how much is in this plan. I wanted to comment on phasing as well. Last term, when we brought the White Belt lands into the urban boundary, I think I was the only one on council that voted against that because I felt we had enough land to develop, that we didn't need more land to be put into the developable area. But I was told at the time, and I continue to be told, that it will come down to phasing. And I'm wondering if we can ask Mr. Palmer to talk a little bit about that phasing and how we still maintain control over how we grow despite having this urban boundary. Would that be appropriate to bring Mr. Palmer back up? Or from the desk, that's fine too.
Sure, through you, Madam Mayor. Phasing is a complex issue, and you have a lot of areas in the main growth area that presumably could come on stream all at the same time. And that would be, in my mind, an awful outcome. Having Queensville building out, Sharon building out, Green Lane building out, and the 6 community design plan areas all building out at the same time. This official plan has identified a phasing strategy through the use of some other Planning Act tools, like a holding provision through zoning. But it also gives council the opportunity to control growth through the allocation of municipal service infrastructure capacity, which is a pretty fundamental element of urban development. You can't have urban development without sewer, water, and the transportation facilities to deal with that. I don't believe that the conversation about phasing is done yet. We have to find the right balance so that the fiscal side of infrastructure planning can be dealt with primarily by the development community, while still ensuring that council can manage where and how much to grow at any given time. It's not all going to happen in the next 5 years. We've got 30 years to think about this. We want to make sure we get it right, and we want to make sure that council reserves the right to make key decisions about where, how much, and when development happens, in step with key investments in municipal service infrastructure, community facilities. You don't want to get caught having all the development and none of the things that go along with that that are important for what we call a complete community. So there are policies in the plan now. They're going to be continued to worked upon. But the goal is to make sure council has the tools to make decisions about phasing.
Thank you for that. When we're talking about tools, I think it's important when we're looking at this plan, and I think Councillor Foster touched on this, that this isn't just about where and how we develop, but it's about the tools that this will give us to protect our environment, our green space. And I'm wondering if you can just speak a little bit more to that, about the tools that we have.
Again, through you, Madam Mayor, the conservation, the protection of the natural heritage system is a requirement of provincial policy. How you define and articulate the natural heritage system is based on a whole host of rules established by the province. when we put a green area into an official plan, it's done at a certain level of science, and it can always be refined based on more detailed science. The goal is, though, that it's refined based on science. That's the test. The environment is a scientific element of your community that, again, requires protection. And there's a lot of rules around that, and you've got a lot of help from provincial policy in that regard. And again, in terms of outside of the urban areas, inside the urban areas, it's primarily the natural heritage system, but outside, it's the rural agricultural system as well. And in East Gwillimbury, we have very significant provincial policy that protects that. So this plan leverages all of that policy that is available, mostly because you have to. But nonetheless, the environment must be protected, and it must be based on science.
And I think that the plan goes a step further. We've had conversations about, it's one thing to have these natural heritage pockets, but to be viable, they have to be connected. So I know through our discussions, we've talked about how this plan will connect up our natural heritage so that there's more mobility of animals and that sort of thing, so they're not running out on the roads and causing accidents and that. But that connection of the natural heritage, to me, is a big piece of this plan.
Through you, Madam Mayor, that's totally fair. The good news is that East Gwillimbury has a very robust natural heritage system, and there are a few links that don't exist. The goal is to try and find those links and get those links identified in a way that they can be achieved. We have to bring into play additional acquisition tools for you to be able to do that. But again, the good news is there aren't many areas that aren't connected. So I think there's only one or two that we're working on in the complete community plan area. Outside of the urban area, again, everything's connected because it's all in the protected countryside. At the end of the day, I think we've done what we can do, but again, it's important to have the toolbox.
Thank you. And just my final point on that is, you're talking about there's still work to be done to try and get those connections, and it might involve land acquisition, that sort of thing. So even when we pass this plan, there's still work that we could be doing as a council to ensure that we're maximizing, protecting our environment. And so now we just have to stick to the plan. Thank you.
I'm not seeing any other speakers at this time. Might you have anything else for us as well?
I think just building on the last commentary, there is still work to do. The official plan is one layer. This is not the end. As you all know, the complete community plan area is based on the use of what we're calling community design plans. And those are council-adopted documents that provide all of the detail for subsequent approval processes through draft plan subdivision and zoning bylaw approvals. That's a whole other level of detail where you're going to be working out all of the elements, not only of infrastructure, and again, when I use infrastructure, it's sewer, water, stormwater, and transportation infrastructure, but also parks, community facilities, how the natural heritage system is protected and connected. So there's still lots of work to do. There's still public process to be carried out after this official plan is approved. So no one should think that this is the last time that they get a shot at influencing how development occurs, particularly within the complete community plan area. There's lots and lots of work to do.
I have a motion here, with the help of members of council. Be it resolved that Development Services Planning Branch presentation and report DS 2026-08 dated March 24th, 2026, entitled Updated Official Plan and Complete Communities Secondary Plan be received, and that council direct staff to continue consultation on the East Gwillimbury updated official plan and complete communities secondary plan and modify the proposed official plan as appropriate and report back to council identifying recommended changes resulting from continue with the consultation on the East Gwillimbury update official plan and complete communities secondary plan and modify the proposed official plan as appropriate and report back to council identifying recommended changes resulting from the consultations and the statutory public meeting, and that council requests that staff to bring forward a recommendation report and adopting bylaw by the end of the second quarter of 2026 to enable council to enact a bylaw under the authority of Section 17 of the Planning Act to adopt the town's new official plan. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Roy DeClemente and Councillor Crone. Thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. With that, we have closed our meeting for the evening.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the statutory public meeting portion of tonight has ended. You're now proceeding back to item D, which is the deputation portion. So just bear with us as we transition us back to regular council meeting.
At the beginning of tonight's meeting, council consented to hearing item D1. Before we begin hearing from the deputant, I would like to outline expectations for conduct at this meeting. All participants are expected to conduct themselves respectfully and in accordance with the town's procedural bylaw. Disruptive behavior, including interruptions or inappropriate language, will not be tolerated. Each deputant will have up to 5 minutes to speak unless otherwise approved, and must limit their remarks to the subject for which they have been granted approval. As a reminder, deputants shall not speak disrespectfully of any person, use offensive or unparliamentary language, speak on matters outside of their approved topic, or disobey the rules of the procedure or decision of the chair. I don't think we're going to have anybody that does that. If there is disorder or a breach of these rules, I may curtail a deputation or rule it concluded, and individuals may be asked to leave. We will now proceed. Number one that I have is K. Jean making a deputation to council regarding the enforcement of municipal bylaws and the use of retroactive permits. Would you come forward at this time? Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate you spending your time with us.
Okay, good afternoon, Madam Mayor and members of council. My name is Kevin, and I'm the resident of the Sharon community. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Before I begin, I would like to ask a fundamental question. Should public authority be required to follow and enforce the law, or are they permitted to selectively bypass it? Since last summer, my neighboring property has undergone extensive landscaping work that appears to have altered the original grading of the land, redirected natural drainage pattern, constructed a retaining wall without proper authorization, and used asphalt waste as backfill material, which is not compliant with the requirements for the clean fill. Those work are carried out without any permits, approvals, or professional engineering design. Change to grading and drainage are not a minor issue. They can significantly impact neighboring property, including increased risk of flooding, soil loss, and property damage. Without proper engineer oversight, such construction may also pose a long-term safety risk. When I raised those concerns with the township, I was initially told there was no concern and that no permit was required. After months of follow-up and dozens of communications, the township eventually acknowledged that the work has been carried out without permits. However, when I request that the property to be brought back into compliance with applicable bylaw, including restoring the original grading, I was informed by the senior staff that enforcement is not intended to require is not required to require restoration, but rather to bring the property into compliance through a retroactive permit. With respect, this approach raises serious concerns. A retroactive permit is meant to assess the compliance, not to legalize the violations. If the work does not meet applicable by law, engineering standards, or environmental requirements, then approval should not be granted. Instead, corrective action, including recreation, should be required. Attempting to legalize unpermitted and potential non-compliance construction through after-the-fact approval undermines the integrity of the permitting system and creates a build first, approve later percent. I would also like to highlight that I was informed that an application for the permits was submitted as early as October last year. However, to date, there has not been no visible permit issued, no clear decision, and no transparent updates through that update provided to after the residents. This creates a situation where under-permitted and potential non-compliant work is allowed to remain in place for months without enforcement or resolutions. With respect, this places the matter in the regulatory limbo, where the work is neither approved or correct, yet continue to exist without consequence. In addition, the use of asphalt waste as backfill material is clearly inconsistent with the required for the clean fill. While the township has attempted to justify this based on quantity and third-party opinion, no confirmed reliable testing result has been provided. Beyond the grading and construction concern, there are additional ongoing violations, including the apparent industrial use of residential property in violation of a zoning bylaw, the conversion of the residential garage into an unlicensed metal fabric operation, the storage of a pressurized gas cylinder, and the welding activity in the residential area risk the fire and the safety concern, and the environmental contaminating effects surrounding the property. Despite repeat compliance over the last 10 months, the issue remains unsolved. As a result, my family has been directly affected. Through last summer, we were forced to keep our window closed due to the dust and toxic environments. My young child was unable to safely spend time outdoor. Now, as the spring returns, the situation remains unchanged. So I return to my original question. Should public authority enforce the law or selectively bypass it? Procedural fairness is not merely a legal formulation. It is the foundation of a public trust in government. When enforcement is replaced by the after-the-fact approvals,
Could you wrap up, please?
yeah, it undermines the integrity of the regulatory system and weakens the public confidence in the rule of law.
Thank you very much. Be it resolved that the deputation made by Kay Zin regarding the enforcement of municipal bylaws and the use of retroactive permits be received. Are you going to second the motion? Thank you very much. Thank you. You can go ahead.
I just wanted to speak to it as well, Madam
Yes.
Mayor. From what it sounds like, I've asked staff for a bit of a briefing on it, and I was briefed on the circumstances, and it's my understanding that due to the winter weather, there wasn't the ability for some of the compliance activity to take place. And so I just want to encourage our deputant to continue to work with our staff to address his concerns. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Need a mover for that? You moved it. Thank you very much. All in favor? Carried.
So it's no comments.
Pardon?
Sorry, comments before we vote. I just
Comments
want-
before we vote?
Yes, sorry, I just wanted to thank you, the deputant, for the very thorough outline so that we could help, so it helped us understand what issues you were presenting tonight, and so that we could get some background from staff and be able to take this all in with a little bit of background. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions at this time? I'm not seeing any. So this has been moved and seconded. Be it resolved that the deputation made by Kay Zhu regarding the enforcement of municipal bylaws and the use of retroactive permits be received. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. We're now at item E on our agenda. We'll proceed to this portion. There are none at this time. Item F is the committee recommendations, and that is to adopt the committee of the whole recommendations from the meeting held on March 10th, 2026. Be it resolved that council adopt the committee of the whole recommendations from the meeting held on March 10th, 2026. All those in favor? Moving, I believe Councillor Foster had moved that. Councillor, go ahead. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. We have an item here to proceed with, to adopt the committee of the whole council recommendations from the meeting held on March 24th, 2026. Be it resolved that council adopt the committee of the whole council recommendations from the meeting held on March 24th, 2026. Number one, be it resolved that corporate services report CS 2026-10 dated March 24th, 2026, entitled Municipal Weed Inspector Appointment Bylaw Amendment be received, and that council enact the appointment bylaws amendment in the form attached as Apex 1 to Corporate Services Report CS 2026-10, and that the recommendations from Corporate Services Report CS 2026-10 be ratified at the meeting of the Municipal Council on March 24th, 2026 to authorize the municipal weed inspectors to enforce the Weed Control Act RSO 1990 and enable the clerk to report back to the Ministry of Agriculture, Food, Agribusiness prior to the April 1st, 2026 deadline. Could I have a mover and a seconder?
Happy to move.
Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor? And that is carried. I'm now moving on to adoption of minutes on item G. Be it resolved that council adopt the following minutes. Committee of the Whole Council minutes from the regular meeting held on March 10th, 2026. Council minutes from the regular meeting held on March 10th, 2026. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Foster, Councillor Leahy. All those in favor? And that's carried. Number 2. Oh. We are now at I, correspondence for consideration. Correspondence from the Lions Club Camp Kirk Foundation dated March 9th, 2026, requesting the waiving of rental fees for a fundraising event requested by Councillor Crone. Can you have any other information you'd like to share with us, please?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is an opportunity for us to help out the Lions. They've come to us. They're engaging in this fundraising effort, and they do so much for us here in East Gwillimbury. I thought we could return the favor. The only thing I change here, though, is instead of waiving the fee, I think what we've done in the past is through our mayor and council community budget, I think we could cover the cost of the rental that way. That would be the only change I'd make to this.
I would think we might be able to.
That would be great.
Okay.
Councillor Leahy.
Councillor Leahy?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. As a former Mount Albert Lion myself, as a volunteer, I volunteered for many years, and with my sons helping host events, it was a pleasure to attend the pancake breakfast this past Saturday. And what was really enjoyable was the fact that other members from the Eudora Lions Club also attended, and the Zephyr Lions Club also attended. So my question, and it was great to see that sort of support and collaboration amongst the Lions groups, including the Holland Landing Lions group. So it came up in conversation that this was coming forward, and so my question is with regard to, it says here in paragraph 3, the Lions from within District A-16, that includes the Holland Landing Lions Club as well, is my understanding, as well as the Mount Albert Lions. So I'm wondering if you have communicated with the Holland Landing Lions as well, and if we're going to extend that opportunity of support to the Mount Albert Lions, are we also, to be fair, going to include or also provide some sort of support or a waiving of fees for the Holland Landing Lions Club in the future? So that's my question. And so do we have anyone from the Lions Club here to answer those questions? Councillor Crone?
Sorry, I didn't know you were directing that to me through
Well,
Madam
you
Mayor.
were the one that put this on the agenda.
Yeah, no, this was sent to me
correspondence, yes.
through Von Molt at the Mount Albert Lions. I certainly have no objection if Holland Landing wants consideration, bring it forward. Happy to entertain anything. This came from Von needs access to the kitchen at the Lions facility in Mount Albert to put on the dinner, and that's the ask.
And so just another point of clarification, Councillor Crone. In terms of this fundraising team that's organizing a state dinner, who is on is this just a Lion, is this a Lions event that's being driven? Or is this an outside fundraising opportunity?
You know what, Councillor Leahy, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with all the details of inner workings of it, but this was the ask from the Mount Albert Lions, and I was happy to bring it forward. If you'd like to defer this, we could get more answers, but
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't have all the.
Through you,
data.
Madam Mayor. Through you, Madam Mayor, I'd like to ask that it be deferred because I would also like to understand how much money is left in the mayor and councillor fund, because we've had a last moment change here. We were going to initially waive the fee, but now it's been suggested by Councillor Crone that we take the funds out of the mayor and council fund. So I'd like to know how much is going to be taken out of that fund, because I believe it's limited at this point. We've already taken some funds out of that. No, I would like to defer this until we have more information on the cost that we're taking out of the mayor and council fund, if you're going to switch up rather than just waiving it. And I'd also like more details about the fundraiser itself, and I would encourage the inclusion of the Holland Landing Lions as well. So I'm putting a motion on the floor that we defer this until we have the details required to make a decision.
I have someone else who would like to speak to
Well,
it
can we
as
speak
well,
to
so-
the motion on the floor? That we defer this
I
until we have the
believe that-
details?
Go
I can
ahead,
speak
please.
to the motion on the floor to defer. I think that the answers are in the letter, that this is not come. If I could respond, can you turn your microphone off so I can have the floor, please?
You have the floor. Your microphone's on. Everybody's listening.
Madam Mayor, can you instruct Councillor Leahy to turn her microphone off while I have the floor?
Request is be asked to turn your microphone off at this time.
Thank you. The letter is not from the Mount Albert Lions. You'll see that it's from the Lions Club Camp Kirk Foundation. It is signed by the president of the Lions Club Camp Kirk Foundation and the fundraiser from the Lions, the LCCKF. So this is an event, it appears to me, I haven't talked to any of these individuals, but it would appear to me on reading this letter that there is a foundation called Lions Clubs Camp Kirk, and their fundraising team for this foundation is doing a fundraiser. It's 100% volunteers, and they're raising for this camp. So to me, we have all the information we need as far as the questions about that. The other question about how much money is in the account that we talked about taking it from, as well as how much it would cost, I think can be answered by our staff tonight. I don't think there's a need to defer because of that. I also think that it's important that we note that there is no change. There was nothing on the agenda that we were going to waive the fees. It was a request to waive the fees, and it's up to council to decide how we choose to fund this. And Councillor Crone brought up a very good point that in the past, rather than waiving the fees where there's no real fiscal responsibility for that, we're taking on that fiscal responsibility by taking it out of our own budgets. So rather than defer, Madam Mayor, I would request that you ask staff to respond to the questions, the two questions that Councillor Leahy's asking about how much money is in the fund and how much it would cost to rent. Thank you.
I'm going to ask Councillor Leahy what timing you have on this, in that, is it immediate? Could you wait until we met with or requested some information before you need to use the hall itself?
Well, it's not me who's using the hall, it's the Lions Club. But as a former member of the Mount Albert Lions Club, who also participated in this sort of activity, we're only in March of 2026, and already there have been amounts of money taken from the mayor and council expense fund. So I'm looking towards the rest of the remainder of the year and what funds will be available for other future requests. So I would like to, unless we can determine an amount and what is left in our funds, I think it would be premature for us to be granting this in advance of knowing that information in order to be fiscally responsible for the rest of the 2026, because we don't know what other requests may come up.
That happens sometimes. That happens sometimes.
Madam Mayor,
Okay.
I believe Councillor Carruthers has asked staff if they have a sense of the amount of money. I think we've only withdrawn from the account once this year. Mr. Marshall, I would ask, maybe you could ask Mr. Marshall if he has a sense.
Mr. Marshall, do you have a sense that there's sufficient funding for both the events I'm hearing here this evening?
So through you, Madam Mayor, I know there were a couple of requests that were made through the contingency. I believe there is a bit of contingency left. I'm not sure what the amount of the fee that we'd be waiving is. If we can get that, I'd be able to determine whether there is sufficient funding remaining in the contingency budget.
Thank you. Mr. Karmazin, do you have an answer to this?
Yes, I do.
Thank
Through you,
you.
Madam Mayor, there's no detailed hours that are requested. However, we did take a look at the maximum number of hours, and it would be a not-to-exceed limit of $300 to host an event in the evening at the Lions Hall. As an additional option for council, we did review as of late a long-standing agreement with the Mount Albert Lions, and as of today, they do have provision in their agreement for the conveyance of land in the facility at the Lions site to have 2 no-cost rentals per year. So it might be an option of council to look at the $300 not-to-exceed limit, or to approach the Mount Albert Lions to have them cover off the rental at no cost coming out of one of their 2 no-cost rental as a part of that conveyance of land and facility agreement.
That makes perfect sense. And what is the number?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the total amount for the rental fee would be a not-to-exceed limit of $300.
Thank you.
For that
So
event.
we know what is taking place. Councillor, go ahead.
Sorry.
Ward,
Thank
go
you.
ahead,
Through you,
please.
Madam Mayor, there would be sufficient funds in the contingency to cover that.
I would hope so, and maybe a little more. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I really would encourage the Lions to take advantage of the provision of one of their, to use one of their get out of jail free cards for this wonderful cause. For me, I'm going to be the party pooper in the room. There are so many meaningful events that get put on in our community that some of them are for benefiting our own residents, and some of them are benefiting our hospital, or all sorts of wonderful causes. And we have a facility rental policy for a reason. And for me, if these requests have to come to council if they don't fit within the policy. So this doesn't fit within the policy, and I would have to be the party pooper and say that whether it was deferred or not, I wouldn't be supporting it. Not because I don't think it's a good idea or a worthwhile cause, but that it sets a precedent for all of the other worthwhile causes that may come through the doors of these chambers.
We have many community groups that are continually looking for assistance on some of their projects as well. So we'll see what we can do with this. It sounds like it's pretty connected right now, but perhaps with a good look of our members up here tonight to see, in fact, if we know of any organization that would be willing to step up for one of these meetings as well. So I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that.
Councillor Leahy.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. Thank you to Mr. Marshall for saying that there is the contingency funds available if required, but hopefully it will not be required if they pursue the other option. But since you were able to establish that there were sufficient funds, would you mind sharing with us what the balance of the contingency fund is as of March 24th, so that council understands how much is left in the contingency fund for the rest of the year?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the budget for the council contingency amount is $4,000. Nothing has been drawn out of it to date right now, but there are a couple of commitments. One of the commitments has a maximum amount. It was the insurance for some of the council advisory committees. So that amount is not landed on yet, depending on whether the committees take up on the insurance, but even with that, there'd be sufficient funding available for the $300 contribution.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, we have, just a matter of procedure, I believe Councillor Leahy's motion is for a deferral is on the floor. Maybe the councillor would like to withdraw that.
Thank
Go
you very
ahead,
much.
please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I will withdraw my notice, my motion to request a deferral because we've established now that there are other options. With regard to the wording, though, of the resolution, I would like to add to that, if I may, because both Holland Landing and Mount Albert Lions are both part of District A16. I would like to add to that that the Mount Albert Lions work with the Holland Landing Lions and invite them to participate in this. So, well, what I'm suggesting is that a friendly amendment that we invite and include the Holland Landing Lions, because they are also part of District A16, to collaborate with the Mount Albert Lions.
Councillor Carruthers, go ahead, please.
Thank you. This is a foundation that's set up through the Lions Club. This is not
Yes.
specific to Mount Albert Lions, and I would not want to tell Lions Club International how to do their business. If they want to collaborate with Holland Landing, maybe they do, maybe they don't, maybe they have a reason. I don't think that's upon us as a motion from council to tell Lions Club International that their foundation for Camp Kirk should include this club and that club. I don't think that's our business. I think if you want to reach out to Vaughn, since you know him from being a Lion, and ask him if he wants to collaborate with Holland Landing, that would be fantastic. I just think we overstep if we think that we should be telling Lions International who should be part of this foundation and who should not. This is not Mount Albert Lions. This is just the foundation. There's nowhere in this that it says Mount Albert Lions. It's talking about the foundation. And so I trust that the Lions Club understands who's part of the foundation and who's not. And I won't be voting for that. Thank you.
Okay.
So I put my amended motion on the floor. Maybe we want to vote on it.
Oh, I see that Councillor Johns has his hand up.
Oh, Councillor Johns, sorry, we just missed you.
So, no, you didn't miss me at all. I was just waiting to speak. It's okay. So through you, Madam Mayor, I just actually wanted to ask the clerk, just like taking a step back and looking at this, can I get clarity? Like, this was on the agenda for correspondence as requested by Councillor Crone, and then Councillor Crone began speaking to it. But I do not believe that there was formally a seconder. Like, who is moving and seconding the motion that we're actually speaking to in the first place before we can even get to amending it? Is there a seconder to this?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Right now, as it stands, Councillor Crone has moved it. We did not have a seconder, but I believe Councillor Carruthers has just indicated that she has seconded the motion. So at this point, the mover is Councillor Crone, seconder is Councillor Carruthers. And we're just putting together the additional clause for your consideration.
So if I could, we have just now moved it and seconded it. If everybody wished to take a step back and just review the motion as it is now moved and seconded, because technically the discussion that we just had wasn't valid. And then if we took that step back, we could then perhaps find a path forward for us and for this motion.
So what have we got here?
Requested by
Yeah,
movers.
Madam Mayor, I think the intent of what I wanted to do was to have the rental fee covered through the Mayor and Council Contingency Fund. If some members of council have indicated they're not supportive, others have. I think maybe I think we've had enough discussion. Let's just call the vote.
Through you, Madam Mayor, rather than just calling the vote, the option and opportunity was clarified by General Manager Karmazan that the Lions Club, in fact, are entitled to to use the facilities as part of an agreement that they have, and that they don't have to ask us to waive any fees. That was my understanding.
Councillor Crothers?
Thank you. Once again, the letter is not from the Lions Club of Mount Albert. It's from the Camp Kirk Foundation. Camp Kirk Foundation may be able to use the Mount Albert Lions Club one of two events, or the Mount Albert's Lions Club may already have those two events scheduled. So this is not the Mount Albert's Lions Club. This is Camp Kirk Foundation. So we are spending an awful lot of time on $300. The money is there. I think that we can instruct staff to work with the Lions Club to find out if they can use one of the Mount Albert. Madam Mayor, can you please ask Councillor Leahy to turn her mic off? When she talks over top of me, it's very distracting, and it's
A
and
point
it's
of order,
rude.
Madam Mayor, I have never spoken over top of Councillor Carruthers.
You
It says
just
very
were.
clearly in the letter, the
I'm
donating
sorry,
the
this-
Lions
I have
Hall.
the floor. I have the floor.
I have just about had it to here.
Yeah. It's
And
$300.
we-
Can we just vote?
We should be working together. We are not. This feels like we are not tonight. We have good causes that are out there that we want to make sure that our young kids and families are able to take full advantage of the wonderful parks that we have in East Gwillimbury. So I'm going to say that I'm going to ask each one of you which one has the floor at this point, because I apparently didn't. And then let's move it on. There are far more things important to tackle this tonight.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There was a motion put on the floor, moved and seconded. The whole motion is not up on the screen yet. There was a second part to it, that it be funded not to exceed $300. I think there is an understanding that we don't need to waste time on a motion, that staff will find out if they can use, if it's appropriate for them to use one of their 2 free passes. And if not, then this already stands. I don't want to bring this back and rehash it over $300. It's a good cause. Not everyone here is going to support it, and that's fine, but I just think we just vote and move on.
Thank you. Councillor Leahy? Do you have, I'm asking each one of you where you are with this, and I'm asking you.
I'm ready to vote.
Okay, that's good. That council approve the use of council contingency budget to fund the cost of the rental fee of the Lions Hall, support of the Lions Club Camp Kirk Foundation CCKF fundraiser not to exceed $300. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. We are coming into the home stretch here now, and we're on item number Item number 2, correspondence from the regional municipality of York dated March 6, 2026 regarding extended producer responsibility for blue box recycling collection, requested by Councillor Roy DeClemente.
No, Madam Mayor. Oh, sorry. This is,
Councillor
Okay.
Roy DeClemente, did you not request this?
I
Thank-
did indeed request
And
it.
did I not ask that it was yours?
You didn't get to that yet.
Okay.
Before you were interrupted by my colleague.
Go ahead, please.
I'm just not sure if, she said no, so maybe there's a procedural issue we have, and I'm happy to yield the floor to her.
Is there an issue?
through you, Madam Mayor, no.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This was correspondence that we received through our council information packages. And I pulled it because I know that Mayor Lovett from the town of Whitchurch Stouffville led the charge at the regional council level in preparing a very fulsome resolution. I know, and I wanted to acknowledge the work that Councillor Johns did during his tenure as acting mayor when all of this recycling got dumped on us, so to speak. And I know that his efforts were very much appreciated by all of us here and by our staff and by our community. But I wanted to, and I prepared a notice of motion for our next meeting because that's our procedure. But I wanted to, for us to pass a resolution that supported the resolution passed by York Region and adding our voice collectively, amplifying that of Councillor Johns during that process, to simply say that we also are experiencing the same things, and the changes to our recycling protocols and our recycling procedures are inequitable across the province. And so we've had a reduction in service, and it should be the same across the province. So that was simply why I put this here, was to bring awareness to what the region did, and I prepared a motion that we would be supportive of that. And I wanted to recognize Mayor Lovett from Whitchurch Stouffville and Councillor Johns, who have championed this all along. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the correspondence? Councillor, go ahead, Foster. All those in favor? That's carried. I am on item J, which is a notice of motion. We have 3 notices to be included on the April 8th council agenda. Notice of motion provided by Councillor Roy D. Clemente regarding extended producer responsibility for a blue box recycling collection. Motion to be included on the April 8th, 2026 Municipal Council agenda. Notice of motion provided by Councillor Johns regarding Howard Avenue in Sharon and Walter English Drive in Queensville road safety motion. Road safety. Motion to be included on April 8th, 2026 Municipal Council agenda. And notice of motion provided by Councillor Leahy regarding combating anti-Semitism. Motion to included on the April 8th, 2026 Municipal Council.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Through you, if I may, this is the notice of motion that I spoke to you about earlier, advising that this would be better included on the Tuesday, April the 21st meeting in order to accommodate the religious holiday taking place on April the 8th. And so I would like to request that that be moved to the next meeting in April. Thank you.
And what is that next meeting?
April 21st.
We can do that. We can, okay. We can accommodate that.
Thank you.
And we are moving to resolutions, item K. Notice of motion presented at the March 10th, 2026 Municipal Council meeting for consideration at the March 24th, 2026 Municipal Council meeting, moved by Councillor Leahy and seconded by Councillor Johns. Whereas councillors need to be cognizant of looking for ways to be continually improving communications with residents, whereas, oh, it's on it. I don't have to read all of that. Terrific. Okay. Any questions on this item at this time?
Through you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. This was my motion that I brought forward. I felt that it was important in our ongoing journey to always be seeking opportunities to improve communication with residents and having face-to-face opportunities. I believe that that is the foundation of all relationships, is the trust that can be built between publicly elected council members, stakeholders, residents, and taxpayers when we have opportunities to meet in person. So although some individuals like to make phone calls, some individuals like to send emails, some like to make deputations, others may wish to make an appointment to have a meeting with a councillor in our civic center offices that we have. And I wanted the public to be aware that we share offices here at the civic center, and that as we operate on a rotating acting mayor schedule to provide representation in the absence of the mayor, I thought that it would be a good idea to discuss the possibilities of extending that model to resident drop-in hours with councillors. And in doing so, it provides for all of the reasons that I outlined: accountability, accessibility, and inclusivity, which are the pillars of municipal excellence in East Gwillimbury. And since we have recently, as of January 13th, limited the number of deputations that any individual can make in a day, then I felt this was another opportunity to improve our communications with residents. That's why I put it forward.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Great minds think alike, because I actually tried this when I was first a councillor. I came in and I had office hours set up for Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, and I was laughed at by the people who had been in this business longer. And sure enough, nobody ever showed up. Nobody ever asked to come see me at those office hours. When people did want an appointment, Thursday afternoon didn't work for them, this location didn't work for them, et cetera, et cetera. So that was abandoned after a short order. And I think what I learned from that is that we need to meet our residents when and where is convenient for them. And it's not necessarily the civic center, it's not necessarily during certain office hours. I asked our executive assistant, because I always want to look at what's the data, and I mean, one data point is that it didn't work for me 7.5 years ago. So I asked our EA, how many people routinely come into the office asking for a meeting with council? And her response was that in 10 years, she could count the number on her hands. So it's less than 10, less than one a year. Certainly if we promoted it, maybe there would be more, but my experience is that people have schedules and it doesn't necessarily coincide with what our office hours would necessarily be. And you know, some of the whereas clauses I take a little bit exception to, because a lot of this isn't about sitting in a room waiting for people to come. It's about actually taking that one step forward and always being available through various contact methods, engaging with residents in a time and place that works for them. So I'm wondering if we could just ask staff what they can do, you know, maybe through our social media channels or whatever, to help residents understand what our role is, how available we are, how they can get in contact with us, and I'm wondering if that might be a more productive exercise. I'm wondering if we can ask General Manager Gandhi to respond.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So we have all of the information with regards to members of council and their contact information noted on our eastgwillimbury.ca website /council for those who want to get to that information fairly quickly. And it includes an interactive map so everybody knows who and can search for the councillors for their wards. For their ward, and it also includes contact information, phone, and email. So once contacted, councillors are welcome to meet with residents in the manner that is convenient for them. That could be in person or video conferencing or by phone or whichever manner is suitable. To get people to this place of information, our communications team can guide residents through our social media accounts, our website, our town's weekly e-newsletter, digital screens that we have in all of our locations. And so those are some of the tools that we would use to get people to that information. And just to note, as we move into the election period, our first phase is to increase awareness of municipal government and the role of municipal council. And so that will be starting very soon as we launch into that phased communications plan. And it starts with broader information about the role of municipal council. And so these things actually line up very closely because we want to make sure that residents understand what municipal government does and what the role of municipal council is.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too do not see the need to establish office hours. I have always made a point to meet residents where they are, and whether that is physically or otherwise. I meet residents at a time and place convenient to them. I have met people in farm fields, at their kitchen tables, in their backyards, lots of backyards. I remember one meeting that I had with a resident, and I was sitting in their living room with their Rottweiler's head in my lap, and that is not something that I could do here. So for me, I don't want to have to force people to come to the Civic Center at a specific time, and I have to be honest, I take some exception with some of these whereas clauses, particularly in openly criticizing a decision of council in writing. And so for that reason, I will not be supporting this resolution.
Go ahead, please.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I look at this and there's a lot of things here that are vague to me. You know, who's going to set up the schedule? How are we going to make this work? We talk about shared office spaces in the mayor and councillor's office, so does that tell me that two councillors that work in the same office can't be here at the same time? I know the argument would be, well, you could use the council boardroom. That means the EA can't book the council boardroom because she wouldn't know exactly who was going to be there. We talk about a rotating acting mayor schedule and extending this model to the drop-in hours with councillors. I could lead that to believe that that means you're taking a 3-month stint on being the councillor that's going to sit in the office waiting for somebody to come and talk to you. So for me to support something like this, I'd have to see a model on how it's actually going to work. So I can't support it the way it is.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I understand the intent of Councillor Leahy that wants to improve things, and I get that. I think, like everything, it's 90%. Sorry, it's 10% innovation, 90% execution. I'm not sure the execution part is there yet. So as Councillor Foster said, some of the details are a little weak, and I'm at present I would have a hard time supporting it. You know, East Gwillimbury is a geographically diverse municipality. Most of my residents are in Mount Albert. Asking them to drive out to Sharon doesn't necessarily make sense. I've always conducted myself by going to where they are. If they want to meet at their end of their driveway or living room or at a local coffee shop, I've done that too. That's Lighthouse Cafe is like my second office. It's a nice spot. And, you know, and I go on their terms. And I like to joke that I'm 24/7. If I'm awake and the phone rings, I'll answer it. I've answered the phone on the beach while on vacation. I've never put an out-of-office assistant on. I'm always accessible. I try to be at any rate. I'm not sure that coming to the Civic Center equals accessibility. Residents don't want office hours, they want answers. And so they reach out to me however they want to. And that's how I've operated for the past 8 years. And I believe my constituents would tell you that it works. I'm fully committed to being accessible and accountable, as I just told you, for my ward, but I'm not sure this is the right solution. I've actually thought of having fixed office hours, but in the ward. And maybe it's at the coffee shop, maybe it's at the library. I rent a room there. I don't know. I thought about that. So, but I'm not sure that this is something in its present form that I could support. Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Since this was my, through you, Madam Mayor, since this was my motion, I think the intent has been misunderstood and misconstrued. The intent was to provide as many options as possible, and what worked or what didn't work years ago is very different from what I believe that the expectations are of our residents. And as my fellow councillors have said, I'm also available 24/7, answering messages, and whether it's a Friday night at almost midnight or a Sunday morning, I'm always involved and engaged and listening to the concerns of residents. This was a positive initiative that I felt was worthy of exploring, because I do believe that there is always room for improvement. And so I appreciate the consideration of my fellow members of council, and I'd like us to vote on it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Johns, I believe you have your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I just hadn't had the opportunity to speak yet, so just before you call the vote, I just wanted to, so through you, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to speak to when Councillor Leahy reached out to me regarding the item and building the motion. I immediately thought of what Premier Ford has done with provincial employees and the direction of more clearly defined return to work coming out of COVID. And I recognize that the municipality does operate on a hybrid system. But the reality is that we as a council is not deliberated what a return to work looks like within the municipality. And I thought, prior to even having that conversation, as nobody has tabled that type of bylaw or legislation, or through the CAO communicating, I thought it doesn't matter where I'm working, as every other councillor said, meet the residents where they are. The fact that we as councillors would have a leadership position in saying that, instead of working from my house or instead of working from the coffee shop, I'm working from the office. So that's why I seconded the motion. I think every single councillor, including you, Madam Mayor, recognizes the importance of meeting residents where they are. And every single councillor, there is no question in my mind that every councillor goes above and beyond to make sure to do outreach with councillors. And so that's simply why I seconded that motion, and I think it was worthy of a discussion, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to have that discussion tonight. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, we just have this one to vote, whereas councillors need to be constant of looking for ways to be continually improving in communications, whereas the policy around deputations, numbers of yes?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the motion is presented on the screen, and earlier, I believe members had indicated that, given that it's very lengthy, you may not need to read through the motion. It was moved and seconded. I believe there was also a request for a vote at this point.
Well, then we will have a vote. All in favor? Opposed? That does not, sorry, it's defeated. It's defeated. Okay. We will move along in the agenda that we do have in front of us. This one. Item L. That's for reports, and there are no reports at this time. Item M, bylaws. We have 3 bylaws, I believe, 26 to 29 being a bylaw to amend administrative penalty system bylaw. Bylaw 2026 030 being a bylaw to prohibit and regulate site alteration and movement of fill in the town of East Gwillimbury. Number 3 is bylaw 2026-032 being a bylaw to appoint municipal weed inspectors for the corporation of the town of East Gwillimbury. Be it resolved that bylaws 2026-029, 2026-030, and 2026-032 be taken as read, enacted, and signed by the mayor and municipal clerk. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Roy-Clemente.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to move and second them. I would like to separate number 2, which is bylaw 030, out for a separate recorded vote, and I'd like to speak to the bylaw as well. Thank you.
So we'll deal with number 1 and number 3. And do I have a seconder for this? Councillor Crone. All those in favor? And that's carried. And now I'm going to deal with number 2, bylaw 2026-030, being a bylaw to prohibit and regulate site alterations and movement of fill in the town of East Gwillimbury. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Roy-Clemente. Councillor Foster, did you have your hand up for that? No, no. Councillor Crone? Yes. Councillor Crone is moved. All those in favor? You have a question?
Madam Mayor, I wanted to speak to the bylaw, and I had also asked for a recorded vote.
Okay.
So it's now been moved and seconded, so I'd like to speak to it. For me, this bylaw is really important to our community, and I wanted to commend Mr. Molinari and the team that he put together to update this bylaw. East Gwillimbury is one of the highest number of enforcement files at the LSRCA in the Lake Simcoe watershed. And when I say those are enforcement files, those are cases of illegal dumping in our community. So a vote against this updated fill bylaw is actually, in my opinion, a vote against enhanced protections for our drinking water and the overall health of our environment. We have an obligation to modernize and update our bylaws in response to changing trends. And I want to again commend staff for identifying the need to prepare a stronger, more enforceable bylaw to protect our community and also to fight illegal dumping. And so I wanted to say that because this is an important bylaw, and I'm happy to move this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Leahy, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate my colleague separating this for a separate vote. While it's her opinion that a vote against this is a vote against protecting our drinking water, that is, I believe, an unreasonable statement to make. I understand fully what the concerns are of the residents with regard to future implications of traffic and noise and all kinds of things. And at the same time, that we do need stronger bylaws to protect against illegal dumping. So it's a challenging bylaw, but the pros of what will be accomplished and protected are larger than what the downside is at this time. And in the previous one, we discussed it at Committee of the Whole, I voted against it because I was being consistent listening to the residents, and I have heard the residents' concerns. But this is one of the tough decisions where the pros of having a better bylaw and a stronger bylaw and what it protects outweighs at this point with the assurances of future meetings that we will be able to fully decide as a council the movement of fill and the type of fill and all the testing and all the other complexities around it. So I will be voting in favor of the bylaw so that we will be able to prevent illegal dumping in the future.
Are there any more questions before we go for the recorded vote? I'm not seeing any.
Through you, Madam Mayor, this motion has been moved by Councillor Roy DeClemente, seconded by Councillor Crone, with a request for a recorded vote by Councillor Roy DeClemente. Councillor Roy DeClemente, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Carruthers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Crone, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Foster, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Haxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Johns, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Leahy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. We're moving along now. We're in item N at this point, and I'm just looking to see if there is no other business at this time. Seeing none, I will move to item O, confirming bylaw. Is there a mover and a seconder for the conforming bylaw? Councillor Foster, Councillor Roy DeClemente. All those in favor? And that's carried. And the adjournment, we will be at 8:06 p.m. local time.
Happy to move.
I got a seconder and Councillor. Go ahead. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much.